sweet. And you're like, famous last words. But it is Lent, and I know there are a lot of other things that you guys have going on. So you all get extra points for starting a Holy Lent by coming to church on a Wednesday night. I give you extra points for that. I think it is the biggest irony of all ironies to ever irony that this is the reading for clergy on Ash Wednesday every year, which is the year that we do what? We slap something on our forehead and we go out and all of our pride and arrogance and all those things, we wait for someone to say, "What's that on your forehead?" So we can, with great holier than thou, say, "Well, I go to church and I got my ashes." So I actually am glad that we celebrate it here. I guess celebrate's not really a great way to word that, but it is what it is. Why we follow the way that we do it here at St. Anne's is that we do the imposition of ashes in the evening. So it really isn't an opportunity for us to feel like, okay, we're going to go out there and everyone's going to see it. And you have to explain it or glamorize it, whichever one you feel more called to do. But it is an ironic reading, and I wonder sometimes if it's not more for the clergy than it is for the people who hear it. And I say that because I adore clergy. You know that. I am one. I think we're delightful. I think we're adorable. I really do. But we always have these kind of debates about things. So it was only a few weeks ago that I was sitting on a meeting and they were debating whether or not it is okay to do ashes to go. Are you guys familiar with this? Ashes to go? We did them years and years and years ago where you would go somewhere in a public place and people didn't necessarily have to go to church to receive the imposition of ashes. And it was more centrally located, and the idea behind it was twofold. One, that we make more of a public appearance that the Christian faith is alive and in action, and that Lent is something that we live into as a people. But then also, and what was really important to me, is that it is a way of making it easier to access God and access the church. And that's really, really debated among clergy, whether or not we should do this. And whether or not we're making it too easy for people to go to church. And if they do that, then, what if they don't actually go to church? And what does that say? And all these things. And I sat there and I've been pondering this for a couple of weeks. And I said, what is it about that just makes me grind my teeth? What is it about that really causes this gut reaction in me? And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it. And I think it's the idea that we are gatekeepers to God. That we, as the church, have the keys to God somehow. And that we need to make sure that people go through the church to get to God. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? Why do we feel like we have something that everyone should want? And that we have the right to hold on to it, and you have to earn your way to it. And if there's any message that we can get from Jesus, it's this: that God is for everybody. Where did Jesus go? Did Jesus sit in the temple and say, "Y'all, come to me"? No. In fact, one of the reasons that Jesus was criticized, that Jesus was out there with the people doing the things that the church, the people at the time, didn't think should be done, because you need to earn God, people. You need to earn God. You need to tithe. You need to do this. You need to do that. And then you get access to the divine. And here's the deal. At one end, we have this kind of view in the church. And on the other end, we have people today who said, "Oh, you have a service today?" I don't know if you guys know this about Missouri, but it's very, 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 very that. Very, very, you think I'm low church? People are like, "What's Lent?" And there's a little bit of shame in the unchurchedness, isn't there? Have you picked that up from people? That there's a tiny bit of shame. And in that shame comes this defensiveness of like, well, I don't need church because I get God this way or I find God that way. And I love that people feel the need to defend themselves for being unchurched to me. I really don't know why, but people do. They're like, well, my life is just so busy. And I'm like, hey, I get it. I am not here to tell you that you need to go to church. But it goes back to that, even on the ground, we think the church is the keys to heaven, don't we? There's this idea, this ethos in our culture that to get to God, you must come through those doors. And if not those doors across the street. Or those doors downtown. Those doors somewhere. There are doors somewhere that you must go through to get to God. And here's the thing. There aren't any doors. There are no doors. Now, having said that, the doors are important because the doors are the community that supports us as we try and figure out how to live a Christian life. But we're not the gatekeepers to God. We're the support group. And that's really important for us to hear. And so, part of the message today that I think we all need to hear so loudly and so strongly is that going through doors gets you nowhere. Going through doors will not get you to God any more than not going through doors will prevent you from getting to God. The doors have nothing to do with access to God. We are not gatekeepers of any kind. We are a support group. And so here's the message I want us to hear today, because I think it's so very, very important. So I want you to hear this. Find God this Lent. Find God in a way that or in a place that you have not found God before. If that is in a church, I pray that you will go to a church and forgive us for the reasons that you haven't found God in church yet. And if you're used to finding God in church and you think God can only be found in church, I defy you to go find a tree. I beg of you to go out for coffee with somebody that you're not 100% sure you really like all that much. Find God in a place where you haven't found God before. Because that's really what Lent is all about. Lent is all about us coming to a place of realization that it was never all about us to begin with. That we are here because of God. And that everything we do, everything that we are, points to the divine. And hopefully, just hopefully, when Easter morning comes, we'll figure out the divine was here all along. But until then. Dear people,
welcome home to St.
Christians
Anne's.
Observed with great devotion the days of our Lord's Passion and Resurrection. And it became the custom of the church to prepare for them by a season